Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Loss, Love, and all the other shit in between. I'm Sean, and this is episode 7, Parenthood Built in Chaos, Fueled by Love. Today, we're diving into something that every parent knows in their bones. Parenthood is messy, chaotic, and endlessly demanding, but it's also fueled by love in ways that are impossible to measure. If you're listening right now, whether you're a father, a mother, or a single parent, you already know that parenting doesn't come with instructions. There's no step-by-step guide that can prepare you for the moment your child depends entirely on you. You can read books, you can take advice, you can watch other people and try to copy what they do. But the reality is that when you are in the middle of the daily grind, the tantrums, the sleepless nights, the negotiations over food, screens, and bedtime, it all hits differently. It hits heavy. It feels permanent. And it feels like the stakes are higher than anything you've ever faced. One of the most dangerous myths about parenthood is that instinct automatically kicks in and suddenly you know exactly what to do. The truth is, instinct helps, but it's only part of the equation. You learn through trial, error, and reflection, and then you repair. You get things right some days and you fail on others. You apologize, you adjust, you try again, and you keep showing up. That's what matters more than perfection. Showing up consistently, even when you're exhausted, frustrated, or unsure. This is what builds trust, safety, and love. Now, there will be nights when everything finally quiets down, and instead of relief, you find yourself replaying every interaction from the day. You'll wonder if your tone was too sharp, if your patience wore thin too soon, if the way you handled a disagreement will leave a mark on their little hearts. That self-questioning can feel exhausting, and it's natural to feel guilty at times, but that's very reflection. That fact that you care enough to question yourself, it's proof that you're engaged, that you are present, and that you're doing the work. To fathers listening, I want to acknowledge something that often goes unspoken. There's a quiet pressure you carry to provide, protect, and stay steady. There's an expectation that you can hold it all together and emotionally, while being the backbone of your family. That pressure is real and it can be exhausting, especially when it means burying your own emotions to maintain stability. But what matters most to your child is not just the provision or protection, it's your presence, your calm, and the way you navigate your own emotions under pressure. That modeling is just as important, if not more so, than anything else that you do. Now, before I talk about mothers, yes, you can clearly see I'm not a mother. I am not a woman, but I was raised by the most beautiful specimen of a woman that ever walked on this earth. And this episode I dedicate to you, Mum. And I miss you every single day. My mother raised 4 kids by herself, and the strength and resilience that she showed on a daily basis, I took that from her. I took every single bit of her and put it into my life as being a parent. And, I'm eternally grateful for what my mum did for me and my siblings. And, she was working multiple jobs at night when it was time for us to go to bed. She was then going out and working. She had to do what was needed to support the family. And through the day, she did the whole mother thing. And then in the evening, she went and then did a second or third job. And sometimes she would only get back when, we would wake up in the morning. But one thing I did do was, I babysitted my siblings, being the oldest. And she showed me the importance of providing for my family. So I take my hats off to all those women out there that, especially the single mothers that have to raise kids. One thing I do know, that you can have multiple fathers, but you can only ever have one mother. And I'm grateful that I had someone in my life as important as my mother. And I miss her every single day. God rest her soul. Um, it's been about, I think it's coming up to 11 years now since my mother passed. And not a day goes by that I don't ever think about her. And I'm hoping she is proud of me, of what I've done as a parent, and I've raised two amazing kids. And yeah, I'm super proud to be a father, but also equally being a parent is the most important thing you'll ever go through in life. And yeah, so Mum, I love you completely and utterly. You are my world. Okay, I love you. So, yeah, to all the mothers listening, the weight of emotional labor is constant and often invisible. You anticipate needs before anyone else voices them. You organize the chaos. You carry the mental loads that rarely gets acknowledged. Even when you're exhausted, you remain vigilant, ensuring everyone's physical and emotional needs are met. That's no small task, and it requires patience, foresight, and resilience. To single parents, your load is even heavier. You don't get to step back when you're tired. You don't get automatic backup. You are the authority and the comfort, the discipline and the safety, the planner and the emotional anchor. It can feel overwhelming, but it also builds resilience and strength in ways that are profound and lasting. And none of you are perfect. That's the point. Parenthood doesn't require perfection. It requires presence, consistency, and intention. It's not about doing everything right. It's about showing up, learning from mistakes, repairing when you fail, and trying again. Your children do not need flawless parents. They need reliable ones. They need you to be steady enough that they feel safe, even when the world around them is chaotic. The beauty of parenthood is that it forces growth. Every challenge is an opportunity to repair. Every moment of frustration is a chance to model patience. Every conflict you navigate with humility teaches accountability. And over time, the cumulative effect of your presence, your choices, and your love creates a foundation of security that no amount of perfection could provide. Parenthood also exposes you to yourself in ways that nothing else can. It highlights your triggers, your insecurities, your unresolved patterns from your own upbringing. Your child becomes a mirror, reflecting parts of yourself back to you that you may not have recognized. That can be uncomfortable, but it's also a powerful tool for personal growth. By confronting these reflections, adjusting your responses, and repairing when needed, you're not only becoming a better parent, but a better version of yourself. There will be moments when you feel overwhelmed, when the chaos seems too much to bear, when the guilt weighs heavily. But strength in parenthood isn't measured by the absence of struggle. It's measured by the willingness to persist. It's about continuing to show up, to repair, to love, even when it's hard. The consistency of your presence, the intentionality of your actions, and the courage to face your own flaws are the real gifts you give your child. Even small gestures, a calm response during a meltdown, a hug after a disagreement, an apology when you lose your temper, communicate lessons that go far beyond words. Children learn more from how you handle stress and repair mistakes than from any rule or instruction. And in seeing you navigate these challenges, they learn resilience, accountability, and the emotional intelligence that is required in life. Ultimately, parenthood is a paradox. It's a chaotic and exhausting, but also deeply rewarding. It exposes you to your limits while expanding your capacity for love. It tests your patience while teaching endurance. It breaks you in moments only to rebuild you stronger. And through it all, love remains the engine that drives you forward, the force that makes the chaos meaningful and the challenges worthwhile. So if there's one takeaway from this first section, is this: you don't need to be perfect to parent well. You need to show up consistently, reflect, repair, and love intentionally. Your presence matters more than you realize. And even on days when you doubt yourself, even when it feels invisible, even when guilt nags at your mind, your children are learning from you. They're absorbing your resilience, your humility, and your love. And that is far more powerful than perfection could ever be. Now, the first section was about showing up, but this section is about what happens when showing up isn't enough, at least not in the way we think it should be. Because parenthood doesn't just test your consistency, it tests your identity, your patience, your resilience, your capacity to handle your own emotions while managing someone else's. It tests your ability to evolve under pressure. You'll quickly discover that parenting is less about control and more about navigation. You can't control everything your child experiences. You can't control the world they're stepping into. You can't control their reactions, their emotions, or the pace at which they learn. You can guide, you can model, you can create a safe environment, but ultimately you're raising a separate human being. And that's both terrifying and exhilarating. There will be moments, small moments at first, when you realize just how unprepared you were for the emotional labor involved. Maybe it's a meltdown over something that feels trivial to an adult but catastrophic to a child. Maybe it's a simple no met with screaming, stomping, or tears that feel like knives. Maybe it's watching them struggle with their own fears, frustrations, or insecurities and knowing that no amount of your effort will shield them completely. And in those moments, you break, or at least you feel like you do. Now, breaking isn't failing. It's a sign that the pressure is real, that your investment is deep. Breaking is part of the process. Every parent breaks at some point. Every parent hits a wall. But it's not about the wall. It's about what you do after, how you pick yourself up, how you repair, how you rebuild. Rebuilding is where the true power lives. When you apologize after yelling, you're not showing weakness, you're modeling accountability. When you sit with them after a disagreement, you're showing them that relationships can survive conflict. When you regulate your own emotions instead of letting them control the situation, you're teaching emotional resilience without saying a single word. Your children are always watching, always learning, always absorbing, and the subtle, quiet lessons are often the most powerful. They notice how you handle mistakes more than they notice when you're perfect. They notice how you recover from frustration more than they notice when you're patient. They notice your humanity. And in seeing it, they learn their own parenthood. They learn their own. Parenthood also exposes parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. Maybe it's a deep-seated trigger from your own childhood. Maybe it's impatience you didn't even realize you carried. Maybe it's an insecurity you thought you'd work through, resurfacing in ways you can't predict. And that's the part nobody warns you about. Your children become mirrors. Their reactions, their needs, their questions, they reflect parts of yourself back at you. And some of those reflections aren't comfortable. Some of them force you to confront your own past, your habits, your assumptions. And some of them make you question whether you're equipped to handle the responsibility. But here's the truth. Confronting those reflections is part of what makes you a better parent. Facing them, acknowledging them, and adjusting where necessary doesn't weaken you, it strengthens you. It models growth for your children. It shows them that the evolution is possible, that mistakes are not permanent, that repair is real. And let me be blunt, repair isn't always neat. It isn't always quick. You will have moments that feel messy. You will have the times when emotions spill over. You will make decisions you immediately question. That's normal. That's human. And that's parenthood. But each time you can consciously rebuild, you're teaching lessons that last longer than any rules, routines, or instructions ever could. Lessons about resilience, about accountability, about emotional intelligence, and about love. Parenthood also requires an immense amount of patience, not just with your children, but with yourself. You can't cultivate patience externally if you can't practice it internally. You can't expect your children to handle setbacks gracefully if you don't model how to navigate disappointment. You can't teach them to repair relationships if you refuse to repair your own. And the irony is, while you're teaching them, they're teaching you. Every question they ask, every boundary they test, every independent choice they make, it forces you to think, adapt, and grow. You'll be challenged to reconsider how you communicate. You'll be forced to examine what really matters. You'll learn lessons about humility you'll never expected. You'll confront your own impatience, pride, and frustration, and you'll be asked to respond differently than you might have had done in the past. That's what makes parenthood transformative. It doesn't just create children, it creates parents. And the parents you become are often more resilient, more patient, and more emotionally intelligent than the ones who even started the journey. But only if you stay conscious, only if you choose to learn and rebuild each time you break. This process isn't linear. There will be progress and regressions, good days and bad days. Moments of pride followed by moments of guilt. That's normal, that's human, and that's parenthood. And that shows you why patience and self-compassion are crucial as any bedtime routine or school run. Because parenthood teaches you the value of observation and timing. You can't always lecture or guide directly. Sometimes the most effective parenting happens in quiet observation, watching your child wrestle with a problem, witnessing their frustration and offering guidance only when appropriate. That teaches autonomy and self-resilience. And from that, they can rely on themselves, of course. It teaches problem solving without removing the struggle entirely, and that is how you prepare them for life. Love is parenthood. And it's not static. It's not a constant feeling of bliss or pride. It is active, deliberate, and sometimes exhausting. It's showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's staying calm when everything in front of you wants to react impulsively. It's repairing when it would be easier to ignore. It's guiding when it would be easier to let them fail without intervention. And through all of this, the chaos is constant. Plans change, sleep disappears, schedules collapse, unexpected emergencies arise, and yet for all of that, love remains the engine that drives you forward. It's the reason you persist, it's the reason you adapt, and it's the reason you choose to repair over retreat. Every time you guide, repair, and rebuild, you're teaching your child how to navigate the world. You're giving them a blueprint for resilience, emotional regulation, and integrity. And those lessons will echo far longer than anything you could ever teach in a lecture or a list of rules. Parenthood is both a mirror and a magnifier. It reflects your strengths, your weaknesses, your patterns. It magnifies your capacity for love, patience, and endurance. It also magnifies the challenges and that struggles that life throws at you. But it is precisely in navigating those magnified experiences that transformation happens. So in this section, as we dive deep into the breaking and rebuilding process, the takeaway is this: every moment of frustration, every moment of guilt, every moment you question yourself is an opportunity to model resilience, an opportunity to show accountability, and an opportunity to teach repair. Because children aren't just learning from what you say, they're learning from how you handle the messy, unpolished real life moments. And those lessons, when handled with consciousness and care, become some of the most important lessons they will ever carry into adulthood. Parenthood will challenge you, it will expose you, it will test you in ways that you don't even imagine. And yet it also will teach you more about yourself than anything else in life. It will stretch you, it will humble you, it will break you, and it will rebuild you stronger. And that is exactly why we keep showing up, not because it's easy, not because it's glamorous, but because the stakes are higher than anything else. The stakes are love, the stakes are human life, the stakes are growth. Now, if the last section was about learning, breaking, and rebuilding, this section is about transformation, not just theirs, but your own. Parenthood has its way of shaping you in ways you don't anticipate. You think it's all about teaching, guiding, protecting, and it is, but it's also about growth you didn't sign up for. Growth you discover only when you're fully immersed in the daily reality. When you bring a child into the world, you immediately realize that your decisions now carry weight beyond your own life. Every choice, every reaction, every emotion has ripple effects. You begin to notice the small details, how your tone of voice sets the tone for the household, how your patience or frustration models what conflict resolution looks like, how your presence or absence impacts emotional security. Suddenly, your life is not entirely yours anymore. That awareness is heavy, but it's also a powerful catalyst for change. You can't stay the same and parent effectively. That's the truth. Your personal growth is intertwined with theirs. You can't demand emotional intelligence from a child if you refuse to cultivate it yourself. You can't teach accountability if you avoid it in your own actions. And you can't encourage resilience if you collapse under pressure, because parenthood will force you to level up, not because someone handed you a rule book, but because survival and success for your child depends on it. Now let's break this down. Every interaction becomes a lesson. Every moment becomes a reflection. You notice your own triggers. Maybe you realize that the way your child argues or resists mirror patterns from your own upbringing. Maybe a tantrum exposes impatience or rigidity that you thought that you had outgrown. Maybe a plea for attention brings up insecurities about whether you were enough. And it's confronting, because suddenly parenting isn't just about managing them, it's about managing yourself. It's about accountability in real time. There's no pause, no excuse, no opportunity to step back and reset completely. You're in the moment, navigating both your emotional state and your own, constantly recalibrating, constantly learning. And that's where transformation happens, not in theory, not in self-help articles, not in motivational quotes, but in the sleepless nights, in the school-run chaos, in the quiet after the storm when everyone is asleep, and you reflect on how you handle the day. It's in those moments that your character is being tested and reshaped. Parenthood also builds endurance. There are days when everything in you wants to quit, to check out, to walk away, but you don't. You can't. You have to keep going. You push through exhaustion, through frustration, through doubt. That resilience becomes second nature. It becomes a muscle that strengthens every time you choose persistence over withdrawal. And while you're raising them, you're shaping you too. You might not notice at first, but over time you realize that patience, humility, empathy, and emotional regulation, the things you thought were optional or aspirational, become non-negotiable because the stakes are real. You develop a deeper understanding of yourself, your limitations, and your capacity to stretch beyond them. Now let's talk about stress. Oh my days. Parenting doesn't eliminate stress. It multiplies it in ways you couldn't predict. Sleep deprivation, work pressures, financial concerns, relationships, dynamics, personal health, all of it compounds. But the remarkable thing is how parenthood forces you to prioritize, to compartmentalize, to act decisively despite exhaustion. You learn that a meltdown at home is not a personal attack. It's an opportunity to model self-control and emotional repair. You learn to respond rather than to react. You learn to breathe when chaos surrounds you. And in learning that, you teach your child through example rather than instruction how to navigate life's inevitable storms. Parenthood also teaches the importance of boundaries, not rigid rules imposed out of fear, but boundaries defined out of love and necessity. Boundaries that protect them and you. Boundaries that provide structure, predictability, and security. And establishing those boundaries requires courage and consistency. It forces you to step into leadership daily, not from authority alone, but from care, understanding, and responsibility. And here's the thing, parenting can be can be humbling in ways no other life experience is. You realize that your knowledge is limited, that your control is partial, that your influence is profound but not absolute. You learn to accept imperfection in them and in yourself. You learn to forgive mistakes quickly. You learn that patience is a practice, not a trait. There's a certain intimacy in this process too. It's rare to experience a human relationship so unfiltered. Your child doesn't pretend. They mirror your emotions, echo your energy, and reflect back the choices that you made. And that intimacy forces honesty, honesty with yourself about how you feel, how you react, how you show up. It forces vulnerability in real time. And that vulnerability, when paired with consistency and love, is transformative. And we can't talk about this section without acknowledging the mental load, the constant, unseen, ongoing work, planning meals, managing schedules, coordinating school, navigating emotional needs, monitoring behavior, and juggling work responsibilities. The mental load is exhausting, invisible, and relentless, and yet it is part of the foundation that holds everything together. Without it, chaos would overwhelm the household. With it, you're quietly building security, stability, and trust. And the thing that always worried me is when I was a child, I took my mum for granted. I took what she did as, oh, that's her job. But it's only, not only when they're gone, but, a lot of parents are still alive, but it's only when you become a parent yourself, that's when you realize that, what they went through and what they struggled with. You were like, how the hell did they cope with that? Because, I struggle on a daily basis. It never stops. You don't stop being a parent just because my kids are, you know, in their 20s now. I still struggle with it daily. I'm not going to lie to you, because every day is a different lesson for me, a different situation that you have to deal with. And it's not something that you were taught as a young child from your parent. You learn that yourself, and a lot of it's just head on, and it's how you cope and how you deal with that daily situation, and the only way that it can be measured is when your kids come out okay. And if they do, then you can take some of the credit, but you can't take all the credit, because at the end of the day, um it's within our children themselves. We might instill certain rules and regulations and try and give them some sort of guidance. But at the end of the day, a lot of that's within themselves. That's something they've taken from their grandparents, from their great great grandparents. It's something they've taken from us, but it's also something built in themselves. The human life form is the most amazing thing ever. To think that, two parents or two people can create so magical as a child. It's crazy. I love it. And yet it is part of the foundation that holds everything together. Without it, chaos would overwhelm the household. With it, you are quietly building security, stability, and trust. Parenthood also reshapes your understanding of time and priorities. Small victories gain enormous weight, and a single moment of connection can outweigh a week of frustration. The ability to stay present becomes more valuable than any achievement or accolade. You start noticing um, subtleties, a smile, a glance, a moment of shared laughter that become markers of meaning and progress. These aren't small things, they are monumental in the landscape of human development and relationship growth. And the growth you experience as a parent doesn't make you stronger for them, it makes you stronger for life. You develop endurance, empathy, patience, humility, and foresight. And you learn to balance immediate needs against long term outcomes. You learn that influence comes far more from consistency and emotional presence than authority or control. You learn that love isn't just feeling, it's action, persistence, and repair. Parenthood, in essence, is a mirror and a magnifier. It reflects your strength and exposes your weaknesses. It magnifies your capacity for love or endurance, for self awareness, and for growth. And it amplifies your challenges, your fatigue, and your insecurities. But it's precisely in navigating these magnified experiences that the most profound transformations occur. And here's the takeaway from this section: your evolution as a parent is inseparable from your child's growth. Every time you model patience, repair, or accountability, you're shaping the blueprint they will carry into adulthood. Every time you face your own limitations and you choose to grow, you are giving them permission to do the same. Every time you navigate chaos and love at the core, you're leaning and also leaving a legacy far beyond what anyone can measure. And parenthood will push you. It will push you to the max. It will test you. It will challenge everything you thought you knew about yourself. And yet it will also teach you lessons about resilience and emotional depth and the power of love that no other experience in life can. You will break, you will rebuild, and you will stumble. You will rise. And in that cycle, you will become more than you thought possible, not just for your child, but for yourself. Because the paradox of parenting is this: while you are raising someone else, you are simultaneously being raised. You are being stretched, refined, and expanded by the very presence of someone who depends on you utterly and completely. And that is both the challenge and the reward, the chaos and the fuel, the pressure and the transformation that defines your journey as well as theirs. Now, if the other sections were about showing up, breaking, rebuilding, and transforming, this section is about the bigger picture, the legacy, the love, and the chaos that you are navigating every single day as a parent. And let me be clear from the start, this is just not about your children. This is about you too, and how parenthood reshapes everything you thought you knew about life, resilience, and connection. Parenthood is messy. Let's not sugarcoat that. The mornings can feel like wars of patience. The evenings can stretch endlessly. The constant juggling of work, relationships, and responsibilities, and the emotional needs can feel relentless. And yet, in the middle of all that chaos, there is this incredible engine that drives you: love. Not quiet, understated love, but deep, intentional, sometimes overwhelming love that refuses to let you quit. That love fuels every choice, every effort, every repair, every moment of patience when your instinct says to snap. It's chaotic, yes, but it's also the most powerful motivator you will ever encounter. And here's something parents rarely get to hear: the chaos is not the enemy, it's part of the structure. It's what shapes resilience, both in your children and in you. When a child tests boundaries repeatedly, or when schedules collapse, or when the unexpected hits, that is the raw material from which strength, patience, and emotional intelligence are built. The world is not predictable. Parenting prepares them and you to navigate that unpredictability with courage and flexibility. Think about how much you've already grown. Look at the ways your patience is stretched. Look at the ways your capacity to repair, reflect, and rebuild expands. And look at how you manage your own emotions while guiding someone else. That is no small feat. Every single day you're training yourself in empathy, self-control, problem solving, and emotional regulation. Skills that extend far beyond parenthood and touch every relationship you have. And in the midst of that, you're also modeling something essential: the ability to face life fully. You're showing your children that life is not perfect, but we move through it with integrity and care. That mistakes are not failure, but opportunities for repair. That love is not conditional on perfection, but on presence and commitment. That is the deepest lessons parents can give. The more than rules, more than routines, more than praise. Your child is learning from you constantly, even when you don't realize it. They notice how you handle stress, how you apologize, how you connect to yourself, how you forgive, how you endure. They are absorbing a blueprint for emotional resilience and relationship skills that you'll carry on for a lifetime. And the incredible truth is, as they learn, you continue to grow, because parenthood is a two-way street, a dialogue of development, reflection, and evolution. There will be moments of despair, days when everything feels too heavy, nights when your own exhaustion makes patience nearly impossible, moments when you question whether you are enough. Those moments are real, and yet they're also proof that you care, that You are aware that you are engaged. The presence of doubt doesn't indicate failure. It signals a parent who's conscious, reflective, and striving. And let's acknowledge another truth. Parenthood is also profoundly humbling. It strips away pride. It reveals your limits. It forces you to face the parts of yourself that still needs work. But in that vulnerability lies strength. By confronting your own flaws, adjusting and repairing, you are creating an environment where your children learn resilience and accountability, not just in theory, but in practice. They see that growth is continuous, that repair is real, that love is deliberate. Parenthood also teaches that consistency is more powerful than perfection. Children need reliability more than flawless performances. Showing up day after day, even imperfectly, builds a foundation that perfection never could. Your consistency communicates security, trust, and love, silently, powerfully, and enduringly. Every repeated effort, every corrective action, every patient response is laying bricks in the architecture of their emotional life. And what about love itself? The love that fuels everything. It is not just a feeling. It's an action, persistence, and endurance. It is waking up exhausted and choosing to care. It's repairing after conflict instead of walking away. And it's sitting through tantrums without losing yourself, because it's the quiet, invisible commitment that over time transforms chaos into connection. There is also immense beauty in parenthood. Yes, the chaos is real, but so is the wonder. The first time your child laughs spontaneously, the first time they say, I love you, the first time they demonstrate empathy or curiosity. These are not small moments. They are profound reminders of why all the difficulty, frustration, and uncertainty is worth it. And every small act of growth, theirs and yours, compounds into something extraordinary over time. And here's the point I want to leave you with as we bring the episode towards a close. The work you are doing as a parent is sacred and it matters. The moments you think go unnoticed and are building character, emotional intelligence, and a sense of security that will ripple through their life and beyond. You're crafting a legacy of presence, resilience, love, and strength, one that will influence not just your children, but the world they touch. And finally, I want to acknowledge something deeply important. If you are listening right now, whether you're a father, mother, or a single parent, what you are doing is extraordinary. The work, the chaos, the sleepless nights, the constant repair, the patience, the endurance, and the love, it does not go unnoticed. Not in the unwired universe, not in the eyes of your children, and not by those who understand the gravity of this journey. So I thank you. Thank you for showing up day after day, imperfectly, but intentionally. Thank you for caring enough to reflect, to repair, to evolve. Thank you for modeling resilience and love in the face of chaos. And thank you for giving yourself fully to something bigger than yourself. And thank you for trusting me and trusting the podcast as a space where we can confront reality without pretense and still hold hope. Parenthood is tough. It really is. It is chaotic. It is exhausting, but it's also extraordinary. And if you remind yourself every single day, and if you remember anything from this episode, let it be this: the love you put into the chaos is shaping a human being. And in doing so, it is shaping yourself. And that, in every sense, is nothing short of remarkable. Thank you. Love. Thank you. Bye.